But I mean, that is a good point.
Yeah. I mean, growing is tough. I mean, it's, being broke's tough.
Being broke's real tough because you can't see anything outside of that. There is
Yeah.
literally nothing outside of that.
Yeah. It's just like all you think about is like your survival.
Yeah.
But
That's
there's
a
some
tough spot.
simplicity in that too.
If you allow it to be, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
there's
mean, I,
difference,
I don't want to go back to that.
right?
You
But
know what
I
I
guess
mean?
there's a difference between choosing to be free of monetary stuff, right? Um, versus not. Well, I guess it's always a personal choice. Um, mm, that's a difficult one. Everybody comes from different places. Everybody has different things. What I'm trying to say is there's a difference between being a monk and choosing that route of
Mhm.
not having anything, not doing anything other than your personal being, right? And there's that whole life focused around that. And then you have the other part of it where you're just on that grind trying to get everything figured out. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
To that, like, it's kind of like it's interesting because I remember like a lot of my buddies that I was deployed with, we've kind of talked about this, being deployed was pretty simplistic. It was like stay alive and you have a very set job and you just do it day in, day out. And there was something very peaceful in that simplicity of it, right? Like go out, do patrols, try to continue a presence. Somebody screws with you, you freaking handle business and stay alive, go home, right?
mhm.
And yeah, there's a lot of little details in there, but that was the overall grand scheme. And it's like we come back, and some guys would struggle with that. I came back to a good bit of order already in place, which helped me, but still, it's kind of like, well, now I'm choosing. Nobody's life's on the line. I'm not leaving my buddies hanging if I don't like to the same level. If I chose not to go to work today, or quit my job and go somewhere else. Like I have all these options, right?
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming a little bit. So I guess I'm trying to equate that back to the idea of being broke. I think though the goal was it was just very clearly defined. And that kept things simple. So broke, not broke, busy, not busy. There is some simplicity though. If like you're starting out a business or you're trying to make things happen, it's pretty straightforward. Like I just got to make some coin. Like I got to get some money coming in. What makes money come in? Sales, or going out there and working my ass off, or both, right? So like,
Yeah.
just do that. That's all I got to do. I ain't worried about anything else. When I first opened my company, it was just sales. I didn't have to worry about payroll or any of that stuff. It was just trying to close deals.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And then you start having the complexities that come along with owning a company or having employees or having people under you, because if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, that trickles down and it falls into other situations, which, you know, something to that is do you think that's what makes you such a good leader in the field that you're in?
What exactly?
Your past military experience plus the feeling of I've got to be more.
There's no doubt it helps. Resilience, just mindset. I mean, even my business partner now, Eddie, I was working for him when I deployed.
Mhm.
I was an employee for him, and I've heard him say it. He's like, "Man, you left a boy, you came back a man. You were a different person in a good way."
Mhm.
Um, and it absolutely changed. I mean, it gave me drive. Like after I got back, I was like, all right, what am I doing in my life? And I got very focused, and I started consuming I mean, I remember I'm like, man, I've had one or two books to read. I was like, I need books. I need you to recommend books to me. And he started giving me books. And he actually gave me a book by uh Troy Korsgaden. I always mispronounce his last name, but great guy. He's written a couple of books about insurance, and it was from the 90s. It was called Power Position Your Agency. Little dated, but the overall grand scheme will apply today. It'll apply probably in 50 years. And when I read that book, he's like, read this book. I haven't read it yet. They gave it to me at sales meeting. Give me that book. It's like, read this book. Come out and let me know what you think. Read that book, came out. It's like, we're doing it all wrong. But and he kind of like was like, oh, dang. But that book right then made me realize the things that resonated out of it, made me realize I wanted my own agency. And it put me on the course. So
by reading that book, you think that puts you on a whole different platform.
yeah, it was like the spark I needed. Like everything was primed. I needed a spark to make me go, like, hey, I think I can do this. That resonates with me. I think I can build a company based off of some of these principles.
Interesting.
So let's take it full circle now. All right. Sidetracking a little bit. Years down the road, I'm writing these goals every day, right? Just big dreaming goals, like we talk about, right? Just pour it out. I'm an industry leader in insurance agency stuff, right? Lo and behold, out of nowhere, something makes me think of Troy in that book. So on LinkedIn, I send him a message and say, I want you to know I love that book. That book actually put me on a path and made me realize I could do this. Hits me up. We get on a one-on-one Zoom just to chat. He's like, I just chat with you and just ask me questions, seeing how he can help me and stuff. All because of that. So I actually got to have like an hour-long video with him or Zoom meeting with him, just us chatting.
So that's super interesting just to kind of see how that plays out, right? But it also that's a play or a positive to social media itself. Like the amount of connection that you can make right now is beyond anything, right? If you choose to go down a route and reach out to the people that are ahead of you, you have the opportunity to actually connect with those people.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting. And then the other half of it is how many people have the ability to do the things that they want. They just need that spark. Like they just need that book, or they just need that one person to say, hey, look, you can go down this road, or whatever it might be. How many people are sitting there waiting on green, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this week, so my nephew gets with me and basically says, hey, I want to do my own business, my own lawn care business. So he's been doing a little bit on the side. He's got a few customers, does a really good job, but he wants to expand it. And I can just see it inside of him. So we met. I said, hey man, come out here for lunch. Let's just chat a little bit. I mean, if there's anything I understand, it's business. Let's grab lunch. Let's just chat. End of the day, you know what I realized? Like as soon as we sat down, we started talking this stuff. We hit a couple of good points, but frankly, I could see in him some of the things that like were inside of me churning, like knowing I just wanted to do something. And it didn't really matter what I said or what we talked about. He just wanted some confirmation, I think, that he wasn't like he wasn't insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just talked about a few things, but I got no doubt he's going to freaking go out there and he's going to figure it out and he's going to dominate if he wants it, because he's got that mindset.
Yeah.
He's constantly looking for just little ways he can make himself better and try to grow something. I think he's going to do great if he stays focused on it, but that was it. It wasn't the one tip I gave him or the one quote or whatever. It was just confirmation. Hey, yeah, do this, go after it, go get it, try it, test it, figure it out. That was it. He didn't need me. you
Yeah.
know?
So you say he didn't need you, but he needed that, like you said, confirmation to be able to
Mhm.
say, you have the green light, right?
Yeah.
As small as it may be, as big as it may be, green light.
Yeah.
Work. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because you don't know how many people on the other end of that where he's like, everybody's telling him, oh, don't do that, go get a good job, or don't do this, just go do that, right? Go to school,
Mhm.
go instead of doing this or that. Like, there's so many times me personally being in school in that structure, I couldn't stand it, right? And I personally felt like, dude, I've got I've got a couple options, right? At the time, my dad had a propane company, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go into propane. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. I have zero passion for it, but it sounds cool. My dad always has some money, right?
Mhm.
That sounds perfectly fine. I'll paint tanks or whatever.
Mhm.
And then he sold the company, and that was like, I don't maybe me going into high school, and I was like, oh shit, dude, I've got to figure something out, right?
Right.
And so that's when you start doing certain things. You start, like, this is my only route. All the chips are in on this.
Mhm.
And certain things don't pan out, or you screw something up, or you mess this up, and then you're like, what do I do now? What now? And
Yeah.
what I needed at that point in time was, I knew that school was not the option, right? Me sitting in a class, sitting from somebody who maybe knows this or maybe understands this, but clearly you're not doing it, or, you know, the whole concept, those who teach cannot do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, because if they did do it, they would be doing it, kind of
Right.
aspect.
Yeah.
And for me, I've got to have that. We talked about it on the last podcast. I've got to have that confirmation that you are where I want to be for me to
Yeah.
even open up my brain. And that was a point for me where I was like, I needed some sort of confirmation where I was like, okay, this is the route. But I
Mhm.
knew inside of me, going back to what we just talked about, that thing that's inside of you where you're like, I know I need to do this. I know I want to build something that lasts maybe forever, but maybe it doesn't last forever. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just this blip in time that I'm here, but I've got to do something that's beyond just me.
Mhm.
And I know for a certain I can do it. Period. There is no one that can do it like I can do it. But
Yeah.
also, on the other half of that, you know, I always doubt myself,
Yeah.
right?
Well, but I think that's, man, number one. I mean, I don't, if you don't have a little doubt, it's crazy. Like,
Um,
it's just like, I mean, kind of going back to it, like those guys at war that didn't seem a little nervous or a little scared, that acted like they weren't afraid of anything, or, that's what they said. Like, I don't want to be around that dude. He's going to get me killed. Like, plain and simple.
so,
Either because he truly has zero fear and he's going to do something stupid, or he's such a liar and a bullshitter that he's going to just pull the wool over everyone's eyes, including himself. You know what I mean? So it's like the same thing. Like, there's going to be things that make you nervous. There's going to be things that make you scared. Use that energy. That's totally fine. We talked about that on the last podcast. Like, truthfully, don't waste it, because you'll get where you become so used to taking risk on certain things, you'll lose that kind of scared factor. And God, man, that's good stuff. It's powerful. It's a very, very powerful tool. So, like, don't waste it. And to that, talking about being broke, not being broke, like, use that to your advantage. I was telling some of the new agents here, hey, this is a tough market we're coming into, but there's going to be a lot of shift in the market with clients. People are going to be looking that would never have looked before. If you don't have a book established, literally, this is the best time of your career to be in insurance. Like, it couldn't have happened at a better time for you specifically, because you don't have to sit there and worry about all the customers you already have, trying to save them, trying to keep them, trying to provide all this customer. All you got to do is just go out there and freaking sling it,
mhm.
provide good value, honest opinions, great advice, because there's going to be more people than ever needing it. Be that solution for them. And then you don't have all this back end work to do yet. You know,
Yeah.
like this is a phenomenal time for you to be in this industry. You better
Are you
take
trying,
advantage of it.
are you trying to say that insurance is going up?
Yeah. So who's insurance going up for? Do you have a pulse and do you currently have an insurance policy? If you have those two things, your insurance is going up over the next 12 to 18 months. If it hasn't, I don't know anybody who hasn't gone up some already. And I'm talking nationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
insurance is going up for sure.
so not to derail the conversation. So what should we be looking for if our insurance is going up?
That there's, I mean, it's going to adjust even if you haven't had anything happen. And there's not a lot that there's not a lot. Be careful about how you shop it. With the agency you shop it with, if you do, because there's going to be agents. I hate to kind of pigeonhole, but it's just fact. I don't screw it. I don't know why I'm beating around the bush. If they only have one product, they're going to sling lower coverages because that's all they can do. Right.
Explain that. So like if they only
Okay.
have one
So
product,
imagine
like State Farm.
yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, if State Farm can only sell State Farm coverage and their rates are going up, which State Farm has a massive rate need right now. They're the largest personal lines insurer in the country. And I think their what's called their trade combined ratio for last year was like 118. So if you think about that, for every dollar they took in, they spent $1.18. Yeah, that's in business, we call that not profitable.
Right.
So you got to take rate to offset that. You do it two different ways. You do it through rate adjustments, and then you do it through tightening what you allow. So maybe you used to be kind of loose on your standards. Hey, we'll write somebody with one ticket, up to two tickets and one accident. Now we'll only write somebody with no accidents. You could do something like that, right? So you limit what you'll allow in, so you maybe get a better risk factors for a client, which in turn doesn't create additional accidents because of the actuary information. Your probability of accidents are lower. So hopefully your claims stay more steady. So long story short, if I sell product A, and I'm not trying to beat up on State Farm. So let's just say I sell product A and that's the only product I sell. And I used to be an exclusive agent. I sold one product, right? All I can do is try to still convince you that one product's the best. And maybe, and truthfully, I think it's the best, but doesn't mean it's the best for you. And all I can do is, if I can't convince you to stay where you're at and just spend more money because of the value, then I'm going to lower coverages to try to get you where you're at.
Which means
that means I'm going to lower your liability. I'm going to raise your deductibles. I'm going to cut stuff out. I'm selling something new to somebody walking in the door. And trust me, agents learn pretty quick. So if I'm selling carrier A and you call me and I know you're coming from carrier B, I know automatically, probably I'm already seeing how I'm competing against carrier B. So I'm going to go, man, I know I'm not going to compete just dollar for dollar with this one. So I got to make this customer potentially like me, right? And I'm going to cut some stuff out.
Off of their coverage. So
to try to offset it. Now, there's plenty of great agents out there who have higher standards and won't do that. There's also plenty that just don't know any better because they've only worked at one place and that was just the way it was done. And at the end of the day, you got to make that nut every month. And if we got to do what we got to do to make that nut, that's what it's going to be. That's why independent agencies, frankly, have an advantage, because I don't win every deal, which is fine. But if I got a close rate of about 50%, that's solid. Yeah. That's really solid. And exclusive agencies lucky to have a close rate above 20%. So their buying rates 20% or lower. So I got to quote 10 people to close 2, or 1 out of 5, if you want to say it, right?
Right.
If you think I'm on risk going 1 out of 6, hell no. Right? Now me, I'm going to sell 5 out of 10, right? Or 1 out of 2. Yeah. So and I got multiple products to do it with. So I don't need to tell you carrier A or carrier B is the best. I need to just put you where it's the best fit for you.
Right.
That's a big difference. So
Yeah.
sorry to sidetrack on
No, that's exactly what I was trying to understand, just in case I need to go talk to my insurance guy.
that dude's an asshole. Best of luck to you.
But yeah, just as far as all that goes, I mean, it's very important to be able to understand that if you are wanting to go down the route of, whether it's owning a company or starting a startup or just doing something on the side. Like we've got this lady that we're dealing with right now. She's a nurse, but she does nails on the side, dude. And she makes more from doing nails on the side than she does as her nursing job.
Wow.
Right. But those are the things where those types of people who have that in them, they're like, I know that I can do this and I do this really well, but I'm scared to leave my other job because I don't know how this is going to play out. Understand that you have the green light to start something new and to do it alongside. You've got 24 hours in a day, you sleep 8 of them, you still got plenty to go. Right. And I understand you got family, you got, kids, you got other stuff that some people may not have to deal with, but what you can do in those 8 to 12 hours out of your day, you have the ability to make something happen, right? And to better your future and to better your children's future and to better the people around you, because you don't know what it can turn into, right?
Yeah.
I had an idea what I knew what this company would turn into, and it's starting to come to fruition. But I didn't know the road, and I didn't know it was confirmed that if I did these things that it would work out. But you got to make that jump.
If you want it, right?
If you want it.
The last thing I'll say, as far as owning a business, look, some of the happiest people I've seen, the most relaxed people I've seen, from my personal perspective, are the people's businesses that they were at a point and they sold them to me. Like everybody thinks like they got to create a business for their great grandkids to like you're a Rockefeller. I mean, maybe you do that. That's great. But don't just expect it. Also, don't leave them a pile of junk and expect them just to go into it, because like I'm successful or not successful, I'm not forcing my kid to work here. Hell, I want her to go out and work somewhere else first, work for a real boss before she thinks she's going to come work for me.
Yeah.
And then she's going to have to earn it. And she's going to start front desk if she works for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Wow. So best thing I can do is try to leave a legacy in the values I teach her that'll carry on way past when I'm gone. Right. So like, that's hopefully what I can do. Hey, if there's some extra money left in the bank, great. But I had a buddy of mine. I feel like I'm talking military, but my master sergeant from Afghanistan, I was talking to him this week. He's building a new house. And he's on like the inland waterways in North Carolina, and him and his wife are building a new house. And I was talking about something. I was like, man, I was like, I hope I would grow up and retire, live like you. And he was talking about, he's like, man, I want to have a good time. I want to be smart. But he said, I hope my last check bounces. He's like, hey man, I want to live it up. I hope my last check bounces when I die. Yeah. So it was kind of funny, but like do it for you. If your kids or someone else want to be part of something, great. If it's only for a short time, you go out there and you take it and you make the play and you run it for what it's worth, and then you sell it or whatever, or move on with your life. Like there's no shame in that. None whatsoever.
Which goes to play with the first thing that you said. Like if you leave the correct values and the correct morals to your kid or to the people that you want to leave behind, if you create that standard as a family and as a unit, they will have no problem achieving the things that you achieved, if not more.
Yeah.
Because you put the standards into play, right?
Yeah.
Everything that I do, everything that is based off of where I come from and how I work and how I run things is based off the experiences and the past experience and the things that I've learned from the people around me. Right. Yeah. And so everything gets played out. So yeah, if you are in that field and you've got a nice little nest egg and you're living it, you're building it up so that you can pass it down and leave money for those around you afterward. That is a perfect way to make it. That's a perfect way to live, in the sense of you can take everything that you've made, live your life to the best of your ability. And if you have money left over, great. But if you spent every single dollar with the person that you're happy with, and you spent every single dollar of it, and you die the next day, what's actually going to be important is the values and the morals that you left behind with all the people, right? Who you were as a person is going to mean more than the amount of money that you left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a perfect way to look at it. Like that's a hell of a concept. Whereas most people want to grab and hold.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I say legacy. Between the legacy you leave and the inheritance you leave.
Yeah.
Focus on the legacy.
Yep.
That'll matter much more.
Guaranteed.
Much more. So,
guaranteed. So, with all that being said, hey, have a great day. Enjoy yourselves today. And then while you're enjoying yourselves, don't forget to go online and type in this little thing called JockoFuel.com or Origin USA. And when you get to all the website there, they're going to have some new products that they put out. Jocko Fuel just put out cookies that are, I checked out the ingredients, were amazing. So be prepared to be curious and find something that you would like. Also with the Jocko, or not Jocko, but Origin USA, they've got all kind of cool stuff coming out. Super, super cool stuff. So you may want to go pop on there, take a look, take a little gander. And while you're gandering around and filling up your cart with all this cool stuff, know for a fact that we got you. Go ahead and put in the code GRIND10 at the checkout. Save yourself 10% off. And that's GRIND. And it's gonna save you a solid 10% off of all those goodies. So if you spend $100, James, how much do they say?
10%, that'd be $10.
That'd be $10. You just spent $90 instead of $100. Talk about a deal, baby.
That's called value.
That's called not only value, that's called perceived value.
Yeah. Hey, and here's the thing. I do want to say that we are sponsored by Jocko Fuel, but I want to tell you why we have that. Because when we first started this podcast, we had no listeners. Mm-hmm. For probably some people locally that knew us. And one of the first bigger profile guests we had, right? The first bigger profile guest we had was a good friend of ours. And invested in us and took time in us and spent it with us. And so we want to pay that back because they're a great organization. And I don't care if we're sponsored by them or not. These are products. They're great folks. They do good things. They're trying to make a difference in this world. And hey, if they make a few extra bucks because of it, fantastic. Good. I like supporting people I like. So give them a chance if you haven't checked them out yet. So
that's a fact.
Lastly, I'm going to ask for a favor. Hey, if you're not following me on Instagram or something, check me out. All right, my Instagram's it's really clever. It's JD Chapman 84. Check me out. Follow me. Get to know me. Shoot me a message. Say hello. I'd love that.
And while you're down there looking at the bio and you're looking at the description of the podcast, you're going to see at JD Chapman 84. You can click on that and it's going to take you directly to him, whether you're in your phone, your computer, whatever. But there's also that follow button. But along with that, while you're looking at JD Chapman, don't forget to check out The Grinder. We've got this video on YouTube. We've got Instagram posts. We've got shorts. We've got everything. We got things that we say during this podcast that we break out into separate things that you may not have heard, or maybe it wasn't a gold nugget at the time, and now it is. So don't forget to check out the shorts, like some stuff, share some stuff. Guys, we appreciate you. It has definitely grown to something that we love and enjoy. It gives time for us to get on this and shoot the shit, and hopefully you guys pull some cool stuff out of it. So with that being said, thank you. We appreciate you. Keep on rocking on. James?
Grinder out.